Hi. So recently I got a couple of the new Hornby Coronation Scot coaches. These are the second batch ones, the ones that came out at the beginning of this year. And generally speaking, they're really nice, but I was a little bit disappointed in some of the internal lighting, particularly on the restaurant car. As you can see, the lights are really orange, they're really intense and fiery, and particularly if you have the room lights on, it looks a bit like the kind of fires of hell in there. There was also a bit of a kind of disconcerting buzzing noise in the restaurant car when the lights were on. So I wanted to do a few simple modifications to try and improve things, and I thought I'd share them here in case they're useful to anyone else. So if you open up these coaches, the way they work is that the light for the table lamps shines up through the plastic insert, which gives a kind of diffuse glow on the top of the tables, which is fine in theory, but the plastic they've used for this second batch is a kind of orangey brown colour, which tints the light into this very fiery orange colour. I think for the first batch they used a different colour plastic, more of a sort of pale beige, and that didn't have such an effect on the colours. But I haven't actually seen any of these coaches firsthand, so I don't know that for certain. Anyway, so the first thing I did was to drill out a little hole in the tabletops underneath each of the lamp fittings, so that the light that was shining up wouldn't be filtered through this orange plastic. I then covered that up with a thin piece of paper which made a kind of tablecloth. And that sort of brings the lights back to the kind of natural colour of the LEDs, more of a sort of warm white as opposed to an intense orange. The other thing I did from a kind of technical level was to add a resistor onto the lighting board in between the red wires from the pickups and where they connect onto the board. I think this was about a 500 ohm resistor. And this just dims the lights down a bit to a more kind of realistic level. It also had the side effect of getting rid of that annoying buzz. So after that it was more just a kind of aesthetic thing. So I detailed up the interiors, adding people and plates and cutlery and things like that you can see through the windows. I do this to all my coaches, or at least all the ones that have tables. I think it makes a big difference. I also added a separate lighting circuit in here, running off the same pickups, that has overhead lighting, so that the light in here isn't only coming from the table lamps. You could possibly run this straight off the existing lighting board, but I'm not exactly sure how you do that, so I just connected the wires from this through a kind of DIY lighting circuit onto the wires that came from the existing pickups. And apart from that, all I did was just lightly weathered the exterior of the coaches the way I do with any of my other coaches, just to give them a bit more of an in-use appearance. And I think, hopefully you'll agree, it's made a big difference. If you look at the restaurant car now, the lights are much more kind of realistic, much more toned down, and that orange colour isn't there as much. I didn't do so much to the lighting on the other coach, the standard first class compartment one. So you can see the lights in there are still quite orange. I may go back to these and add a 500 ohm resistor to these as well, just to tone them down slightly. But this doesn't have the issue of the light shining through orange plastic, so it wasn't as fiery to begin with. So yeah, they're still a warm light, they're still quite pleasant looking, but they just blend in better with the lights I added to my other existing Coronation Scot coaches, and hopefully you think that they look better. Yeah, hopefully this has been useful to someone, and I'll just leave you with a few shots of my Coronation Scot running around the layout. Thanks, bye.